Yo, Snapchat. Yo, let's discuss DAOs, Decentralized Autonomous Organizations. Are kind of like blockchain organizations or companies that run themselves, where there's no pyramid structure, it's transparent. The thing that makes Bitcoin work is the fact that there's no central authority, there's no central bank controlling, and making sure everyone's bank balances are correct. It's a decentralized system run on blockchain technology. So Bitcoin is really only useful for kind of a currency, an online currency. But what other groups have done now, things like groups like Ethereum, is they've basically taken that blockchain technology and allowed people to make DApps. So DApps are decentralized applications that essentially run in this distributed ledger system. So they process, like people actually send transactions to them and they actually process them like a normal app would. And so that allows you to do things like run a decentralized Uber or a decentralized eBay or like decentralized escrow, where there's actually no company, there's no owner in the middle, there's no servers, there's no employees, it just runs. And so something you can do as a dApp developer is you can give a backdoor for yourself into these dApps to be able to modify the code and update it, but you can actually do the opposite and make sure that no one can ever turn it off. And what this means is you can actually create so the DAOs, which is essentially like a decentralized distributed org structure. So when companies form, they have a board of directors and all that. You don't need that anymore. And the Ethereum developers have they're launching a new platform called the DAO Hub, or just calling it the DAO, to actually facilitate these structures to form and to form voting rights. So one of the proposals in development, which has been going for a while, is called Slock It, which is essentially like an IoT, Internet of Things platform where there's no central control, there's no central authority, there's no central server. So Slock It is kind of like digital locks, where you can pay to open a lock. So say you want to rent a bike, and you can just pay that lock and rent the bike, but the lock owns itself and controls itself. And that's such a different way of thinking about how to launch a startup and how to create a company. Because normally if someone, like say bike lock thing, normally people would have a thing where you pay with credit card, you go to a central server, a company who would take a cut. Whereas in this system, the DAO basically controls itself. So whenever it needs code fixed or whenever it needs bikes maintained, it does that itself. It pushes out to contractors who do that work. A similar idea I brought up before is the idea that self-driving cars could own themselves. Uber doesn't own the cars, no one owns the cars. The cars own themselves and they get petrol and make money on the blockchain. They have their own wallet. Shit, man, even houses could own themselves. Imagine every house has its own wallet and it owns itself. There's no deed owner, there's no person who owns that house. It's owned by the social commons and rented out by itself. But I think the core point to really point out here is that DAOs and these blockchain smart contracts, they can never ever be shut down. Once they're started, the only way to shut them down is to turn off the internet or stop all the miners. And so I think within about 5 to 10 years, a huge chunk of the global economy will be kind of the back end of all these industries, like global industries, will be controlled by AI smart contracts. And even the way in which companies are started, I mean, there's cool projects like Colony, where you just form a huge amount of people to work on a company together and everyone gets ownership in that company, and you don't need like an ASX or something. Many people think that these DAOs could eventually over time, because they're transparent, you can see each other's code and they can connect to each other and talk to each other and they run themselves, they could become Skynet or the global AI system. So yeah, DAOs, they're huge, they're awesome, they're going to be massive. They're a new form of human organization that has literally not been technologically possible until now. Get on it. Snap your thoughts.